Issues aplenty. T-Radar's always got them on a Tuesday morning for us.
Always got the issues. You know, always nice to hear them in wee track.
Isn't it? And that one in particular about being a New Zealander.
Oh,
living in Aotearoa.
Stirring.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. I first bumped into them at one of the early gatherings.
Did you?
Oh, yes.
Well,
they were playing.
Which one did you go to? Did you go to the good one?
Oh, I don't know.
The good one apparently is the one, because I went to two, and one of them was very good. It was 98-99 one.
Oh, no, I don't know. I was shooting a doco about it, and I can't even remember what year it was.
A documentary?
Too much.
I never saw the documentary.
Yeah, I think it was called The Gathering. It was for Gibson Group. I don't even know what channel it was for.
Did it even get broadcast?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, directed by the wonderful Jess Feast.
Cool.
Yes, who's gone on to many great things.
That's something to look at. See, that sort of stuff should be up in the tubes, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, there were some in fact, I bumped into one of the people the other day who was in the drumming circle with the guys that covered themselves in mud and expressed themselves through drumming. Bumped into him. He lived in Motueka. Surprise, surprise.
You're right.
Yeah.
And he will still be living in Motueka.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, it's
nice part of the
down
world.
there.
Yeah.
We like it. Hello to the listeners in Motueka.
Yes.
Terrible day. Not happy. Day.
No. You're feeling sad?
Yeah. Well, in a way.
Yeah.
You know, how I guess you can feel sad. Death of an elephant. The first thing I thought was, are they going to stuff it?
That's exactly what I thought. Stick it in the museum.
Yeah. Or will they sort of, you know, I suppose it's not overly simple to stuff an elephant, but it certainly has been done, and, you know, what better way to pay tribute to it? Either that or they're going to have to dig a particularly large hole.
That's right.
Terrible.
Because we don't have an elephant graveyard.
No. Well, we do for old politicians and people like that have been put out to pasture. Yes, but the other thing I thought was then maybe in fact someone like Weta Workshop could produce a more realistic elephant in honour of Cashew than simply, you know, mounting Cashew. For those of you who don't know, Cashew, 40 years old, euthanised last night.
Yeah, because it was quite unwell, and that leaves one elephant behind. And
that's actually elephant.
That's really a good idea. You were just saying Weta Workshops could perhaps create a projection.
Somehow I think the elephant might just know. But what would be terrible, I thought, would be if there were no elephants left in the zoo. Like, I hope they get another couple, because, you know, I think it's important for kids to be able to go and see them in real life, to realise what majestic animals they are, and then hopefully it puts them onto a life of environmental protectionism, and in the case of Cashin, saving money in elephant-based safety deposit bank boxes.
It is. I suppose it is quite touching, because I wouldn't imagine there would be many children who didn't grow up in Auckland who didn't visit Cashin.
That's right.
At one point,
it's, you know, everyone's got their little ASB elephant money box and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's a day off. Don't go to the zoo today because, of course, closed.
Yeah, and don't take your ham sandwiches if you were to go, apparently.
No, particularly if you've got children. You know, from what I gather, don't have any of myself, never made a child's lunch, but they're saying now, this is one of those things that where studies come out that says, here's something else that's really bad for you, thus continuing to narrow down the things that are good, which at this stage, the things that are good include very little. Salami, ham, bacon, pastrami, apparently they can increase the risk of bowel cancer later in life. So they're encouraging people not to put them in school lunches for children.
Gosh, and the pork industry's already had it hard this year.
Already had it hard, but, you know, there certainly is the thing with the various nitrates and whatnot. But, you know, I always go back to that study about chicken that came out and said you can't eat chicken skin because it'll increase your risk of heart cancer.
Yeah.
And then another study came out and said people who don't eat chicken skin increase their risk of bladder cancer.
Oh. Man.
So, you know, it's one of those things. What are you going to do? Everything in moderation, I think.
Everything in moderation, but don't forget to enjoy yourself.
That's right.
At the same time.
The first thing I thought was there's nothing like a bit of a spicy pepperoni sort of, you know, on your pizza or whatnot, but I suppose they'd say that's probably not the best thing for a child either.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, students aren't very good at the old moderation.
They certainly aren't, and there's not every day that you think you'd see a headline in the newspaper that says half of male students induce vomiting after booze sessions. So half of male university students binging on alcohol and then indulging in some booze-based bulimia. So whether they're doing that under what is apparently the mistaken belief that you'll feel better in the morning if you get rid of all the booze you've consumed the night before.
Well, is that the reason why? Not just because of the excess alcohol, people are purposefully.
Yes.
doing this? Sticking their hands down the throat?
Self-induced vomiting.
Oh.
For two reasons, I suspect. One, obviously, they think they might feel better in the morning. The second, probably to fit more booze in.
Oh, no.
So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that. Apparently, but a substantial number of people, some woman, a researcher, a psychologist, did her thesis on it, Natalie Blackmore. She found that 57.58% of men and 42.26% of women report self-induced vomiting after drinking alcohol.
So the males are getting into the booze bulimia, and apparently the females are getting into more crime.
Yes, more crime. Women are scary things, and for a long time, some of the worst crimes, well, not some of them, there's certainly been some terrible crimes committed by women, young women in particular, and particularly in Wanganui, dramatic rise in violent crime committed by women. Particularly young teenage girls. They're getting out there. Obviously, they think they can cut it the same as the boys, and they're getting stuck in. But to me, I remember there's been some terrible crimes committed by young women. And if you were in that situation, how do you confront a young woman? Because you probably have a different reaction, I suppose, if you were confronting a young man.
Now, normally women are concerned with being attractive, right?
Yes.
And not doing anything that society will look down on them for and frown on them.
Right.
Do they just need to be told that a lady on a crime spree is very unattractive?
Well, maybe they think ladies on crime sprees in their circles are quite attractive. And you do see them, various sort of 60 Minutes programs and things like this, these young girls out there, and in many ways I think they try to be harder than the boys, and so their crimes become more crazy. Well, there's that young woman in South America somewhere who's just confessed to 30 murders.
Goodness.
Good Lord. It's like we don't have anyone like that here. A little surprised then that women go on, New Zealand women striking fear into their partners. Apparently they're unusually possessive. 14% of men in New Zealand say their partners become angry if they speak to other women.
Because what's happening is there's some kind of gender reversal going on. Get the men into the booze bulimia, and they're now being beaten up by their partners.
Yes, either emotionally or physically. Overall, 23% of men report one of at least 6 kinds of psychological abuse, which range from being put down or abused to the children being harmed. Ladies, what is wrong with you?
It's enough to make you hop in the car and go and run out of gas somewhere.
It would, but just for goodness sake, and don't do it on the motorway. We've all thought, we've got enough gas to get to the next off-ramp, and then if we get to the next one, we don't have to make an emergency turn-off. Big problem, particularly with the recession, apparently, and the price of fuel. People are trying to stretch it, trying to get somewhere on the smell of an oily rag, running out of gas on the motorway. Police have finally said, look, enough's enough. This is becoming a hazard to everyone involved. Now, if you run out of gas, they're thinking of having a fine.
I think this is caught on from the States, because apparently with the rise in the fuel price in the States last year, the motorists were doing this because they knew that they could get a free top-up from whoever came and assisted them.
There you go, yes. So obviously that's a very good sign. So now, of course, you won't get so much as a free top-up, but you'll get a fine. I wonder if the fine will be less than the cost of a tank of petrol.
Well, they'd have to make it more, wouldn't they?
You'd think so.
It's because you get fined for walking on the motorway.
Yes, not supposed to walk, not supposed to cycle, not supposed to do a number of things. I've been. I remember once we were filming something driving over the Harbour Bridge, and we were pulled up for that. It's a lot of things you're not supposed to do. And finally, T-Radio, you'll be pleased with the referendum result on Friday? Oh, look, it's one of those things. Terrible photograph of Larry Baldock. Unfortunately, in the Herald, I think it was, he's celebrating. He's got both of his fists clenched in victory, and you thought, oh, that's not a very good look for someone who's advocating the spanking of the children. What I'm actually pleased with is that John Key and various others haven't suddenly gone, oh, it's absolutely right, we must overhaul the entire legislation. Because as they say, the interesting thing, I was thinking about it this morning, referendum, non-binding of course, but a significant number of people, I think 54% or something, voted in it. And we think, well, you don't want to change everything just because of a referendum, because as they say, homosexual law reform, civil rights movement, all of that kind of thing probably wouldn't have been overturned with a referendum. Yet at the same time, we're quite happy to allow a form of referendum to elect people to Parliament. Good point. Good point, T-Radio. Nonetheless, I like to see that sense has prevailed, and the Prime Minister, in order to defer anything crazy, has gone, let's have a review. Always a wonderful political move. Let's think about it, and then hope that everyone's forgotten about it. That's right. By the time the next time comes around. And just to say that, there really have been no malicious prosecutions, and anyone who is giving their child a light smack, I think there's been a lot of common sense employed by this, so we'll have to wait and see. T-Radio? Well, yes, we'll speak next week. Yes, until next week, though. I'm sure there'll be a whole bunch of issues for us to discuss then. More than ever. Thank you.
See you. It's by Wammo. This is called Before He Passed Away. 22 past 8.